Amputee mountain bikers, how are you doing today? This is Matthew with Ampt Biking. I wanted to say thank you for coming to our first ever episode of Ampt Biking. This is a channel that is aimed at reaching out to amputees that are needing encouragement, that have just gone through limb loss and are struggling with mental or physical and emotional issues that come with that limb loss. We want to be here for you. We want to encourage you. This first episode is aimed at just kind of introducing me and what Ampt is and what it means for you guys. Go over topics as far-ranging as mountain biking, all the way to daily health care for amputees. We could talk about bike mechanics to lake mechanics. We could be talking about a life story, our personal testimony, what we've gone through with our limb loss, or we could be interviewing somebody who is either in the industry or somehow connected with the adaptive side of mountain biking. Again, my name is Matthew. I am considered a congenital amputee. That simply means that I was born without my foot. I did not suffer any trauma where I had amputation occur in my life. I just, when I was born, did not have my foot or ankle. So I'm a below knee amputee on my right side. As you can see up here, this is my riding leg. It's just below the knee, but it goes up to the knee for connection purposes. So I'm 44 years old. I was born at Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California. My family was military. Dad was in the Air Force. When I was born, they had no forewarning that I was going to be born without my foot. So it was a pretty big shock and pretty tough for my mom and my dad at first. But they had hope that things would go well, and they did. Doctors didn't think I would survive because of several other medical conditions, but they were wrong. I'm here, healthy, get out there and do anything I want. So I grew up as an amputee. Back in the 70s and 80s, there weren't peer groups like there are now, especially on social media, where I could get plugged in with other amputees to share what I was going through. I basically ran my life on my own, and there was a sense of isolation that up until recently I never really paid attention to. I just ignored it. But I know how that can affect somebody who's going through this type of situation. As I was growing up, I was a very active kid. I went out and I played, I ran around, I was always outdoors in the middle of the Mojave Desert, which was pretty crazy considering how hot it gets. I remember getting my first bike when I was about 7 years old. My dad got it for me, and I remember him teaching me how to ride in the front yard of my house, pushing me on a gravel driveway, which was not very nice, but I picked it up pretty quick and rode bikes up until high school when it wasn't cool anymore to ride bikes, but I still missed it. During that time I did everything. I played baseball at Little League. I was always going out hiking, running around, doing things, so I was a pretty active amputee. So let's fast forward to 2008. In 2008, I was working in office jobs, design work, construction type thing. Not very healthy, not really getting out and doing anything at that point, but I wanted to get active and lose some weight and just feel better about myself. So first thing I thought is I want to get a bike. You know, I loved riding bikes when I was a kid. I loved the freedom it gave me. All right, so I went to the local superstore and got one of the cheap mountain bikes they had. And granted, this thing weighed 55 pounds, made out of steel. It never shifted right, the brakes didn't work well, and it was a tank. But I was out and riding, and that's all that mattered. And I was having fun with it. And it was scary at first because it had been so long since I'd been on a bike. But I got out there and I was riding. I was riding to work and from work and losing weight and feeling good. And at this time we were in Oregon, and there was a trail system that was just about between my house and work, and so there were times where I'm like, well, getting a little more courageous. Let's do some shortcuts, or long cuts if you will, through this trail system, and I'll do some trail rides. And that was great. It was fun. It was just enjoyable to get out in nature, see the trees, see the wildlife, have the breeze blowing through your hair. As an amputee, a lot of times you feel, especially when you're having leg issues, whether it be you got a sore or you can't wear a prosthesis or it's getting worked on, when you don't have that mobility, you feel very stranded and you're stuck. So what mountain biking allowed me to do is go beyond my normal mobility. Even with my prosthesis, I was able to get out and do things that every other able-bodied person was able to do. So it was great. I loved it. Ended up getting hooked up with a local bike group that got together on Wednesday nights, and we started riding with them. And there was such a diversity in riders. We had guys that were doctors. We had riders that were, worked at cashiers at stores, just low-end stuff. We had expensive bikes and we had cheap bikes. It didn't matter. We had healthy people. I wasn't in great shape. I still am not, but I'm working on it. But it didn't matter, because in that group, in mountain biking group, you had the camaraderie that just doesn't compare to anything else I've seen, where they accepted you. We would ride a section of trail, and the fast guys would go fast. They'd wait at the end, and the slow guys would come up at the end. We'd all laugh and talk about how great that was and go do another section of trail. It didn't matter. They were so willing to see me out there, and I had such an encouraging, positive response from them being out on the trail. It was awesome for me. So it became part of my life. So through the years, I ended up upgrading my bikes, and I ended up getting a full suspension bike. I started trying different trails and riding different places, and I rode all over the Pacific Northwest. I got to go up to British Columbia, Canada, and ride up at Whistler, which was just epic. Now I'm in Colorado. I've ridden in Utah. I want to ride the entire United States. I want to get international with this. I would love to be able to ride everywhere in the world, and I can, and I will. And I want you guys to come with me. I want you guys to be out there on the trails with me, showing you that it doesn't matter if you lost your leg. It doesn't matter if you lost your arm. It doesn't matter if you're missing both your legs above the knee. You can get out there and ride some way. There is a way we can get you out there on the trails again. It had a big shift in our lives, and my wife and I and family had an opportunity to come out to Colorado. So, in thinking about the amputee outreach side, but it kind of hadn't come together in my mind yet. And so I said, well, the first thing we need to do is we need a shuttle van. And she said, what's a shuttle van? I said, well, it's just a 15-passenger van that can carry 15 passengers, and I need to get some bike racks for it. And she's like, okay. So we talked about that, and we came back from what we were doing one day, and came back to my mother-in-law's house, and she was showing us around the property and trying to get us to move here, which was kind of on the possibility at the time. So we're walking the property, and she's saying, oh yeah, you can park your cars right over here, and there's this big van there. And I said, well, can the neighbor move their van so we can park here? And she's like, oh, that's not the neighbor's van, that's our old work van. And I kind of stopped, and I look at my wife, and she looks at me, and I turn back to my mother-in-law. I said, is that a 15-passenger van? Oh yeah, it's a 15-passenger van. She said, do you want it? So that was kind of one of the starting things that was like, this is going to happen. So we got the van, which you've seen pictures of probably by now. It's all over the website, but it's the Ampt van. So it ain't pretty. It's had a lot of work done to get it up and going again, but it allows us to be able to get amputees up to the top of a trail system. We can do some shuttle runs. We can get them from point A to point B. We can do some events. It just gives us versatility, which is an awesome thing. So that happens, and a couple other things happen. So about a month and a half later, we're moving here to Colorado. We have a place to live. I get a job. I'm working a day job while I'm trying to set up the Ampt event, and this is 2019. And so over the course of the next year and a half, year or so, I'm making phone calls and talking to sponsors, and I've had such an incredible outpouring of support from all the community, from everybody, from local to national. I've had international guys calling me from New Zealand, asking me about the event, how we're going to do it, and what's going on, because they're trying to do an event down there too as well, which maybe in the future we'll get to do something together, which would be really, really awesome. But it's just been an an incredible ride, an incredible journey, and we're just starting. So that was the beginning of the dream for Ampt, is to be able to encourage you guys to get out there, to get on those trails, not feel limited by your leg. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yes, you're in pain. Yes, you're struggling. But that doesn't mean that you can't get out there and get moving again. There's always a way. There's always hope. Always hope. Never give up on that. We want to be nationwide. In the next 10 years, my hope is every month there's an event somewhere in this country. Whether we're in Utah, Colorado, North Carolina, Florida, Oklahoma, not a whole lot of mountains, but hey, we'll get out there. We want to be out there for everybody. We want to get out there and ride for you guys. And we want you to come out. We want you to spread the word. I'm on several amputee groups right now on social media that you always hear, how am I going to do this? How can I deal with this? I just lost my leg 2 months ago. What am I going to do? You're going to live. You're going to make it. You're going to get through this. And you're going to get through in an awesome way. So at the event, the biggest thing that hit me, we had, like I said, such a variety of riders. Several pro riders, and they were awesome. And trust me, I love shredding with those guys. They shame me. They shame me. I can't even get close to them, and I thought I was a decent rider. But what really touched my heart was we had a gentleman come out. His name is Craig. He came out, and he and his wife showed up a little bit late. And I remember seeing him, and he's a tall guy, a big guy, and lost his leg just a few years ago, above the knee. And he came out, and I walked over to him and I said, "Hey, has anybody greeted you yet?" And he's like, "No." And so I shook his hand, I welcomed him. I got him to a bike, and he said, "I haven't ridden since before my amputation." And he said he loved to ride his bike. And I said, "Great, we're going to get you riding again today." And we got out into the parking lot, and some riders, that's all it is, but that's okay, because that's the start. That's the start. We'll get them on a double black diamond someday, but let's just get them rolling. So Craig got out there, we got him on the bike, and another gentleman, Matt, another amputee, came out with me, and he and we got on each side of Craig, and he got on the bike, and he couldn't keep his foot on the pedal, but we were there, and we walked with him, and we pushed him through the parking lot, and he started riding and started bouncing, going on his own. And you should have seen the grin, the smile on his face. That, to this day, is what hits me. That is what Ampt is about. That, seeing that realization that we're not done, we're not stuck, we can do more. That's what Ampt is here for. This is what we are here for, to help you out, to help you know that you can get out there and do more. You can do this. You can ride. We can get you out there. At the first event we had back in August of last year, we had a great turnout, considering we had a pandemic going on. We had 15 adaptive riders, 14 were amputees. One of them was a spinal cord injury, a gentleman who's a great friend of mine. That day we had such a variety of people join. We had some young kids come out. We had one young kid who was an amputee, all the way up to a gentleman who is a pro rider. He's the guy that makes my legs, Biodapt. He makes my riding feet. Mike Schultz. He's just an incredible guy, and his story is awesome. And if you come out to the events, maybe you'll get to hear his story. So we had our event. Everything was provided exactly what we needed. YMCA the Rockies hosted us. Great trails out there, great people out there. We had Single Track magazine come out and do an article on us. Mountain Flyer magazine did an article on us. A couple local newspapers picked us up for articles. Just the interest is huge, and there's so much that can happen with this group, with this channel. So much that can happen with this outreach. So we're excited to say that last year we had one event that was very successful. We had a huge positive reaction and feedback to it. This year, 3 events. 3 events this year. We're very, very excited about this. We're going to be doing an event in June. in Oregon, in Rogue River, Oregon. Looking very forward to that. We're just waiting on the finalization from the BLM so we can do official announcement on that. The second event is going to be in August. We'll be here in Estes Park again, same location at the YMCA, the Rockies, just up the road from me. That will be on August 7th, and we'll be putting out an official announcement on that as well. And the third event is going to be in Moab, Utah. And that's a ways off, and we've got some planning still to do, but we're doing that in conjunction with Telluride Adaptive Sports. They are just have been such great partners. They reached out to us last year. Tim has been a great guy, and I'm looking forward to being able to work this event with him. It's going to be a little more advanced rider event. It's not going to be our typical open event. It's going to be designed for those that have ridden for a while and kind of know the trails, but it's going to be a multi-day event, and we're going to get to ride a lot of trails over in Moab. So very excited to see that. So that's Ampt. That's what we're here for. We're here to encourage, lift you up, and shred some awesome trails. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Follow us on our website. I'll go ahead and put that in there as well. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.